Get into that. Somebody in the chat is saying that you believe that false accusations of towards men rarely ruins men's lives.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time. Yeah, it's a rarity.
What do you
If
mean?
you want to shift the conversation to
Are
that,
you saying false? Are you saying false accusations are rare, or that when there are false accusations that are brought forward, it's very unlikely to have any negative ramifications for the man?
Yeah, I'm claiming both. That false accusations towards men are rare, and whenever they do happen, they rarely ruin lives. That's kind of like the phrase that I talk about, because that's what like men specifically will say, is that a false accusation can ruin lives.
What do you consider life ruination?
Irreparably harmed.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
So an example of that would be
not an example. I'm not looking for an example. I want to know specific. Hang on, stop. Let me just ask the question first, so that we can get it super crystal clear. Sure. When you say irreparable harm, right? Mm-hmm. If I rip my pinky toenail off, that's irreparable harm. So the thing is like, I want to be specific about what you mean when you say irreparable damage. Mm-hmm. So let's do that.
So I think that there would be maybe three categories. And that's important for the definition. So it would be irreparable harm to your career, irreparable harm to your freedom, irreparable harm to your reputation.
What about irreparable harm to your emotions?
Yeah, you could add that in there for sure.
So a fourth category.
Yes.
Do you think that you could experience PTSD from such a thing?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So if you're just talking about emotional irreparable harm, who gets to make the determination of that?
So that would be dependent on the specific like individuals who are being.
I agree. So it would have to be up to the individual. Are you saying that individual men who've been falsely accused have stated emphatically that they experienced no irreparable harm? Or how would you demonstrate that?
I'm stating that the majority of them do not suffer PTSD.
That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you if they suffer PTSD. I asked you if they are the determiner of irreparable harm. Do you think that if you asked a man, any man who was ever falsely accused of SA, or in this case, that they would say that that caused irreparable emotional harm?
So I think...
Just please answer the question.
Yeah, so
you're not going to answer the question. You're going to obfuscate.
No,
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll clarify. Yeah, I'll answer it and then I'll clarify. So if a man says that they were falsely accused and that it damaged or ruined their life or irreparably harmed their emotional status, mm-hmm. I think that they would have to say, like, they would have to have had some sort of like justification for saying that.
Yeah, what do you mean? Wait, no. You're just I just caught you in a contradiction.
No, if you didn't have PTSD,
this is a contradiction. It's a contradiction in terms. If the person is the determiner of their emotional state, and you just hang on. If the person, stop for a second. If the person is the determiner of their emotional state, and you agree that it has to be the person, which is why I specifically asked you this. If the person themselves says that their emotional state was caused irreparable damage, and they're the arbiter of what that means, by your admission, you just contradicted yourself.
Sorry, give me just a second.
For what?
Do we have a cricket sound anyway?
She's
sorry,
getting, Dean and Parker are sending her.
That's a literal. What you just got caught in was a performative contradiction.
Sorry. Yeah, I was. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You got caught in a contradiction.
Sorry, the box wasn't lighting up. Yeah, sorry, I was talking to someone. So I'm gonna go back on that. I didn't mean to state that someone would be the determining factor. Like, they wouldn't be able to determine it themselves.
Who would be?
They would have to show. They would have to show how, like the emotional status example.
How?
Right? So if you say that your life was ruined, No. Nobody
said.
To show me that you had PTSD.
Why do you keep changing terms? Irreparable damage is what we're talking about.
Right.
If a person says that their emotional state received irreparable damage from the action of a false accusation, who could be the determiner of that other than the person?
They could say that, but if they didn't have PTSD or some sort of like psychological
Who would
damage
make that
afterwards, I
who makes that
wouldn't, like,
determination?
classify it as that. Yeah, I'm going back on that. I don't think that they themselves could make that determination.
So
I think it
somebody
would be
else makes the
dependent on their mental
determination?
state afterwards.
Wait, so let me get this right. Somebody else makes the determination on whether or not you, the individual, feel that you've had irreparable emotional damage. Can you even begin to explain how that would work?
Yeah, so if you say that you were falsely accused of, like, SA, right? And you say that you suffered emotional damage from it, hypothetically, I would ask what emotional damage that would be. And if someone said,
It makes me feel bad for the rest of my life.
I wouldn't say that ruined your life. You
I
would have to
didn't.
show
We're
them
not
that, like,
talking about
PTSD
life
or something
ruination. You're
similar.
using a word concept fallacy. You keep on, and you're goalpost shifting. What we started
Yeah,
the
I'm not trying to
discussion about
goalpost
was
shift, I'm
was
just
irreparable.
trying
So let's
to-
stick with it. Irreparable damage. Can you repeat those words?
Yes, irreparable damage.
Irreparable damage and life ruination and irreparable damage are two different concepts, right?
Say that again?
Irreparable damage and life ruination are two different concepts, right?
No, I think that would be the
No.
definition of
Wait,
life being ruined.
no. Irreparable damage. Okay, so if my pinky toe gets cut off, that's irreparable damage, but that is not life ruination. Yes or no?
I mean, it depends if it's going to grow back.
Yeah, so can you answer my question? It does not necessitate that because my pinky toe was cut off, my life is ruined, but we can agree that's irreparable damage. Yes?
Yeah, if it doesn't grow back, that would be irreparable damage
Yes,
to your pinky.
yes, it would be irreparable damage.
I don't think that would
so
be
hang
irreparable
on, hang
damage
on.
to your life.
So then we have now established that irreparable damage and life ruination are two different concepts, correct?
I guess in the context of your pinky toe, yes.
Okay. Well, okay, so now let's talk about your emotions, right?
Yes, if you tell me that you had an emotional outburst after someone falsely accused you, that's not going to substantiate that your life was ruined. You would have to show PTSD, anxiety.
Why would you need to
depression,
show those things?
Because I'm not going to take someone at their word.
Oh, you're not going to
probably
take a
telling you a
victim
lie.
at their word.
I wouldn't call them a victim.
Wow, that's well. So I just want to make sure I got this right. I just want to make sure I got this right. Hang on, Brian. Hang on. I just want to make sure
No,
that
I
I
wouldn't
got
call
this
them a
right.
victim.
So a person who is victimized by a false accusation, who tells you that it emotionally hurts them for life, they're a victim. You agree that they're a victim of a false accusation. You are not going to take them at their word. Well, that's great. What you just proved,
What you just
proved,
not telling the truth.
what you just
Whenever
proved is that we should not believe all men
I
can
and we should
explain
not
it if
believe
you would
all
let me
women.
explain